Alright, everybody, so today we need to be talking about LeBron James. Now, normally I'm not a sports person at all. In fact, if you ask anybody who knows me personally, I really don't pay attention to just about anything, whether it's in the NBA or any other kind of American sport. I pay attention to soccer internationally because I'm a fan of Manchester United and the U.S. men's national team, and I think that's just because I'm a bit of a patriot at heart when it comes to international sports and our position abroad. But with what's going on with China and how American companies are more or less sucking off the cock of Chinese consumers and by extension the Chinese government because having access to 1.4 billion potential customers matters more than their goddamn principles, LeBron James has essentially sold his soul. NPR has got the article for us today on October 15th at 3:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Links in the description below. Back from China, LeBron James speaks out on NBA controversy. Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James has criticized a tweet sent by Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey in support of the Hong Kong protesters, saying of Morey, "I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand." James has just returned from the NBA's tense trip to China, where teams played exhibition games, but many player appearances were canceled owing to the controversy over Morey's statement, which was deleted shortly after it was posted. Yes, we all have the freedom of speech, but at times there are ramifications for the negative that can happen when you're not thinking about others and only thinking about yourself, James told reporters in Los Angeles. I want to pause and acknowledge the irony of that statement. Negative things can happen when you're not thinking about others and you're only thinking about yourself. LeBron James is only thinking about himself and his goddamn bottom line. LeBron James has sold his soul to China and those who back authoritarianism. The people in Hong Kong are fighting for political autonomy and agency, and are rallying behind flags like the American Stars and Stripes and the United Kingdom's Union Jack because they are symbols of liberal democracy across the world, illustrating that representative government, albeit imperfect, is the most perfect form of government we have amongst a society of imperfect beings. LeBron James has failed the United States as a representative and a celebrity and an American citizen. This goes for anyone, a public figure, LeBron James, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and numerous others that are not willing to publicly support the Hong Kong protesters. What's even more depressing is that this means that along with LeBron James, arguably the biggest star and the biggest name in the National Basketball Association, along with the general managers, has essentially said that no, the freedoms and liberties that we enjoy here in the United States do not matter because the ultimate goal is the bottom line that we get from China. To a point where a couple of days ago, Philadelphia's 76ers fans were ejected from their stadium in the Wells Fargo Stadium, inside Philadelphia, mind you, in the United States, where they have First Amendment rights to protests, all because the 76ers were playing an exhibition game against a Chinese team, and they were protesting saying to free Hong Kong. These people were denied their rights. And LeBron James, by coming out and criticizing others inside the league and criticizing others in the NBA who are supporting Hong Kong, say to the United States, say to their fans, say to everyone across the world that what matters more is making more money and maintaining a good relationship with China than our values. Now, LeBron James in the past has been a part of philanthropic projects regarding, social justice, regarding, community renovation, and has, supported his... voiced his support in those who kneel during the national anthem. And now, everyone who kneels during the national anthem has every right to, and I think that's totally fine. You have your First Amendment right to do so, and I think that police brutality is a problem in this country, especially with the history that this nation has. However, it makes you a hypocrite that you are not willing to stand up for your values as an American, and to stand up for freedom and democracy. That makes you a hypocrite for not standing up for those who are literally dying in the streets by the Chinese government, all because they want the same rights and liberties that you get to exercise as an American citizen. It's downright depressing. James continued and says, "I don't want to get into a word or sentence feud with Daryl Morey, but I feel he wasn't educated on the situation at hand, and he spoke." He added, "And so many people could have been harmed, not only financially, but physically, emotionally, and spiritually." James's comments were quickly met with criticism in the U.S. and beyond. For example, Michael David Smith from Pro Football Talk tweeted, "Maury was literally thinking about others. He was thinking about the people of Hong Kong who want the same freedoms that Americans take for granted." And Michael David Smith is 110% correct. James has talked about, issues socially, whether it's about what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia a few years back, the shootings of black men by police officers, but because he is, the face of the NBA, and the NBA has decided to suck the cock of the Chinese rather than enjoy the freedoms and stand for those who are fighting for freedom in Hong Kong, all that we're doing is showing that he rather cares about having the Chinese yuan in his pocket than anything else. It's a downright depressing day when companies like Blizzard, Activision, and the NBA are willing to sacrifice their freedoms and ignore the freedoms and values that so many of their Western customers enjoy and have the privileges of, while those in Hong Kong are dying in the streets to do the same. It's a downright disappointment. I have a longer video coming up about what's currently going on with the NBA and Blizzard and the Chinese controversy from an economic and foreign policy standpoint, so stay in tune for that. I apologize that my tone is a little different in this video, but it's infuriating to see that this is one of those moments where that Martin Luther King Jr. quote is so aptly applicable, that when it comes to injustice, if we don't stand for it anywhere, then it's an injustice everywhere. And there are so many of those out there that will tell you that, oh, it wasn't convenient at the time, or, oh, my hands were tied, I have a contract, I couldn't do anything about it. It is the same moral equivalent of the Nuremberg defense. By condoning and trying to defend your own bottom line while a population of hundreds of thousands of people, if not more, are fighting for the basic liberties and the aspects of our representative kind of government that we have taken for granted for over 200 years. People like LeBron James and people like the president and people all over this nation that are trying to defend the NBA and defend companies like Activision and Blizzard need to take a long, hard look at themselves in the mirror. Because this is a watershed moment for not only us here in the United States, but across the world. During the 1930s, when Mussolini invaded Ethiopia, Ethiopian leaders went to the League of Nations and said, "It's us today, but it will be you tomorrow." The same thing, I think, is applied to Hong Kong. If we do not stand up for them and the protesters and their right to have democracy and their right to be independent and free from the Chinese form of government and authoritarianism, where there are more facial recognition cameras in that country than there are people, first it will be Hong Kong, but then it will be us tomorrow.